Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I was just distracted. I was looking at something in Jigsaw. I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay. Hey, anyways, today we get the jobless claims. So that's a big deal. And then tomorrow is the big day, of course. So I don't know. Do we have other stuff today? No, just, well, Fed will or speech. Okay. Anyways, let's come back and look at the charts to see what they did. So I was looking at this. I was like, oh, there's an order sitting there. But then I was looking at the contract and I was like, oh, that's from a long time ago. And there's a stop. It's been canceled. Okay. Anyways. E-mini. So they came down a little. I mean, yesterday was not the best day for the S&P 500. But, I mean, you can't have every day be an up day, right? They're doing okay in the overnight. Treasuries were all over the place, man. So first we had the ADP, they really rose, and then between the Fed speaker's comments and the non-services PMI data, it just got crushed. So you can see, man, if the jobless or the jobs number on Friday, like say the jobs number on Friday come out at 1 million, I think that the Treasury could move like all the way down to here, you know, like below 133.16. So, yeah, Friday could be huge. Oh, whoops. Oil, you can see it's still not doing so well. I think this is largely concerns about the Delta variant. Gold and silver were taken off yesterday, but then, you know, everything that happened in the Treasuries just really killed that momentum. Same for silver here. Copper is still kind of to the downside, though. The dollar index really got stronger yesterday off of that PMI data and everything, but maybe it's coming back today. So we just kind of wait until the news here, and then if we get don't get anything off of that, I don't know if we really have a good reason to take a trade. So the reason why I was like all weirded out at the beginning is I thought I had an order sitting out here. So I come back over here and I look at this. And it's like, oh, here's the one that was placed in 2019. How come I can't cancel it? What's with that? Is there a way for me to fix that? I don't think that there is. It sure is odd. It lets me edit it. But then if I change the quantity to 0, that doesn't work. But if I change the quantity to 2, oh wait, now it says that there's another one. Oh, but then the other one I can cancel, but the original one I can't. Oh, that's so weird. Okay. Weird. My nose is a little runny today. Okay, well, so here's a number coming through. Here we go. Actual 385 versus an expected 384. So there was no reaction right as it happened. Well, this might make today's trade really tough. Trades balance was in line too. I'm waiting for people on Twitter to say things and stuff. I know, like their pressure, like it looks like the pressure in the treasuries is to the downside, but I don't know about this. Missed it. Oh well. Detect a hint of flattening as well. Wait, what? What did I have the stop set to? Well, that's weird. Shall we do that again? Yeah. Maybe they just stuck. $5 years, kind of threatening it, but people on Twitter just pointing out that the highest unemployment rates were all in Democrat states. Guess I could turn on robots here. Oh, now it's not right. What the heck? I turned on one of my robots. The indicators didn't pop up correctly that time. That's a little weird. I'm gonna refresh that, see what it does. What's with that? You see it right there? It's like, it's all screwy. Like, why is the super smoother down here instead of up here? Nah, there's something wrong with this chart. That's what I think's going on here. Reload all historical data. Okay, well, the treasuries were kind of weighing down at first. They flipped back on us, so we had to take a loser on that. It's okay. Apparently, United States takes a bronze in women's soccer. Okay, that looks more like what it's supposed to. There we go. Okay. Okay, so how are you guys doing here on the stream? Now that I got everything sorted out. How about that coronavirus, right? Actually, you know what? This is something interesting yesterday. Was let me go find it. Where was it? This awful subreddit on Reddit. Best of is like a terrible subreddit, but they actually came up with an interesting set up here. User shares story of running out of beds and oxygen in Texas. Oh, we should go and read the actual story. Uzi says he's still alive. Carlos, how are you? We ran out of oxygen at my ER yesterday. We had to put ambulances in the parking lot and run tubing into the ER. I have no remdesivir and no plasma as we are a freestanding ER. I'm out of Toradol. I'm rationing steroids. I have a patient here, 21 years old and on BIPAP. We're concerned about how much oxygen we can use up because we can't give him all of the O2 he needs. We're struggling to get an O2 saturation over 88%. No one in the state of Texas has beds for him. Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma are all full. We're trying to have a vaportium. Family is incredulous that there are no beds. We had one yesterday, but overnight, 3 nurses walked out on the shift they were on, so we lost the bed. There are no favors left to call in. No one has anything. No one is special enough or sick enough to qualify for bed. It hurts. It's painful. It's not a good day. Okay, so like, if Texas is reaching capacity, how come Reddit is the only place I'm hearing about this? Because when we were reaching medical capacity in places before, like, they were getting close to capacity in places in Texas during the winter, right? It was the winter, right? And it was a big news story. And now it's not. Isn't that a little weird? I think that's a little weird. Everybody's like, oh, we feel for you. Does anybody see anything in here? Delta is no joke. And now, apparently, the Lambda variant is even more contagious. Good morning, Lucas. I'm pretty sure that, like, reaching full hospital capacity is something that did not happen before the pandemic. God dang. They are not being kind here. I don't think we have a reason to try and take one anymore. Oh, someone told you about that Treasury home run yesterday? Yeah, it was an easy trade, right? How do you know, though? Let's think about this. How could we know? Historical hospital capacity numbers. Excuse me, my stomach is a little upset here. Just a second. How old is the Reddit? Well, I closed it. I think it was only a day old. If you want to read it, you can go to reddit.com/r/best-of. And it is the first story. Posted 16 hours ago, but the comment itself, was actually pretty, because it was 17 hours ago. So it was posted last night. Fast facts on U.S. hospitals 2021. Oh, okay, so this is not the same thing as this, right? Hospitals, beds, and occupancies rates by type of ownership and size of hospital. And this is 1975 to 2015. Oh, down here is the percentages. I see. So, I guess on average, hospital capacity is 64%. This only goes to 2015. My understanding is that during flu season, that it would get bad sometimes, but it's not like this where you have to have people in the parking lot, man. I mean, come on. Like it seems kind of silly to question that claim to me, right? Nope. Anyways, yeah, my trade yesterday, the number came out, the reaction happened, it was an easy call, and then apparently the Fed speaker just made it even easier for us. Wasn't I don't know. This seems silly to question the claim of a random Reddit post that isn't being reported anywhere else. Oh, well, okay, so on that point, I'm not. I was talking about questioning whether the hospitals were, reaching capacity before or not. As to whether or not there was hospital capacity being reached here, that it is a little weird, don't you think? Yes, I came later in the day and it was amazing how much it moved. Well, yeah. Well, I think what happened was that the people, at the time when I was watching it, so there was a lot of luck involved in this, for sure. Okay, because when we took the trade, we were just looking at the good PMI number, but apparently, even though I was listening to the comments and everything, I didn't realize that the vice president of the Federal Reserve was a lot more hawkish than it was expected. And so I think that pushed it a lot further because of that. But you could kind of see the thing that was amazing about that one was that I got out at almost the perfect spot. It's actually quite impressive, the exit price that I got. And I mean, I saw some things there. It got out. It was a little bit of luck that it was as good as it was, but not every healthcare worldwide is on some big conspiracy along with the government of the world. Yeah, but design not. But the thing that I'm questioning that I came in that was weird is that last time we were reaching hospital capacity in places, it was like front page news. And this time I'm only reading it on Reddit. Maybe we need to search. Let's search Google. Okay, so if I search Google, top stories, local hospitals around max capacity. News. Arkansas has 6 open ICU state beds. Here was in Utah, 82% of ICU beds are full. That's actually not as a huge deal. So it seems like it is being reported. It's just not as big of a deal as I would expect. Good morning. Seeing a couple of new names today. Oh, Lucas asks, is this the longest trade you've ever took in the U.S. Treasury? It might be, but I would say that it's not measurably larger. I have caught a 32 tick trade in the 10-year before. That's why when I was doing it and I was looking at the possibilities and everything, I was like, could this go? Could this finally be the one where I catch a full point? You know, like I catch something from 134 to 133. That's the dream, my friends. And I remember seeing trades like that before in the past and not catching them, you know, and feeling like, oh man, I really missed out and yada, yada, yada. So that would be the amazing one, but healthcare workers the world over have constantly told us about the exaggerations. I feel like I'm seeing something, and when I mean, maybe you're right. That's not something that I've really paid attention to, like how much are hospital people exaggerating and yada yada. But I feel like it's kind of beside the point. Like the reality is that the Delta variant is putting a strain on some hospital systems, and it appears to be in red states. So, and the whole thing has been like flatten the curve. We're trying to avoid the situation where the hospital system becomes overrun, right? So if we're getting that in Texas, see, none of these mention Texas. Hospital capacity, Texas, Texas. The number of beds available at ICUs in the Austin area is at its lowest point since the pandemic started. 16 beds. Only 13 beds of Wednesday. Like, okay. So it's not as big of a story as I think that it should be, but they are reporting it. Maybe, well, let's see, like, what is CNN talking about today, for instance? CNN. I don't check them very often. Florida governor turns his ire on Biden instead of COVID. That's your lead story? Okay. Well, I don't know. But the Delta variant is straining hospital supply is definitely something that I wouldn't have expected 3 months ago, right? And is a concern. And kind of the problem is that it kind of seems to me that like even like high levels of vaccination rates didn't necessarily help. So, you know, it goes back to this thing like hospital capacity, Israel news. Iran. That's Iran. I don't know. Well, they're not capacity, but they were talking about talking about another lockdown, at least. They're not giving me any. Yeah, that's fine. They're not really giving me numbers here, though. They said yesterday Israel is going to go into lockdown in 2 weeks. Both the spike in cases and the appearance of new variants were warned about last year. Well, that's true. You're not wrong. But I think that at the time, well, if you had asked me at the time, I would have said, yeah, yes, but we'll have a vaccine and we'll have natural immunity and we'll have treatments, and that even though there might be a lot of cases, that we'll be able to handle it and not have a complete collapse of the medical system. Well, we're still not getting a complete collapse of the medical system, but it's certainly concerning. Does it justify lockdowns again? I don't think it should, but it's been interesting the entire pandemic how they pre-schedule COVID measures. Like, we have this dire emergency, so in 2 weeks, so we're going to do something about it. Both due to the vaccine. Nah, I don't understand what you're saying then, man. Oh, look at the way they took that out at 22.5. Now they're playing games with us. There you go. So they just pushed through today's low. Yesterday's low was 20. So you can see all of the orders lined up there. It's probably going to need, there's probably going to be some sort of a level break sort of a thing that goes on down there if we do. For me, I might need to take it off before it gets there, though. Let's just kind of keep an eye on it here. This is another one of those, the one tick wasn't working, so I worked at position in instead. And that time it worked out, I guess. Brett Weinstein, too. Well, I mean, when you guys say all of these things, so here's the problem, is that I'm not hearing is like a thesis. What exactly is your thesis? My thesis is hospital capacity is concerning, but does not justify a nationwide lockdown. But it does. It does. It should, at least, rather. It doesn't say it does, but it should cause one to question the policies of the states where that's happening. That's my point, right? If you breach hospital capacity, I think it's a political issue for you. And the governor of Texas and the governor of Florida. Thing is, I don't think that Florida is breaching hospital capacity yet, right? But Texas in particular, that seems like really concerning to me, because they were breaching hospital capacity like this time before, and now they're doing it again. So it's like, what can you even do about it? I guess they just don't have enough hospital beds, really. I'd go further to say hospital capacity is probably not a concern. Okay, so you're saying that reaching 100% hospital capacity is not that big of a deal? Because I don't agree with that. Because my understanding is that once you run out of ICU beds, that a lot more people die. That all of a sudden it goes from like a 0.2% death rate to like a 10% death rate for the people that are in the ICU and not treated. Yeah, I'm in Victoria, Australia. Okay. Yep, I'm very familiar with what's going on down there. ES is at the VUA. Oh, I totally forgot about that joke, man. Lucas says, I'd say it's quite concerning. I find it concerning. Well, so like, here's the thing. Just like, think about it from a political perspective, okay? Governor Abbott in Texas, even amongst Republicans, isn't really very well liked, actually. A lot of them think that he's just kind of playing to his audience, and that he's not really actually conservative, and that he's doing all of the things that he's been doing recently to just try and stay elected, right? So in Texas, as it pertains politically, not necessarily a big deal for that particular person, because I don't see him becoming president or anything. But it is a larger scale problem for Republicans at large, because the whole thing is that we're saying, okay, Republican states say you need to stay open, and that these lockdowns don't really help, and that the masks don't really hurt, etc., etc., etc. And then you look at the two states that are pushing those two policies the most aggressively, and you go to Texas and they're having problems with hospital capacity, compared to eastern states. Maybe they're doing better. Like, it's a problem for Republicans in that respect, right? But where it really becomes an issue is in Florida. So we're seeing a spike in cases in Florida. If in Florida they exceed hospital capacity, and you start to see the death rate rise, then you're going to have a hard time going and running for president and saying these policies were helped the pandemic. You could say they preserved freedoms, but at that point, how are you going to argue? They're going to argue people died because of you. That's a really tough argument to fight against, right? Especially when he has doubled down on the policies so hard. Right? So seeing the hospital capacity rate rise the way that it it should be a concern. I wouldn't say that at the moment that it's like a disaster yet, right? It's not. When we see the death rate rise over the next 2 weeks, then it's a disaster. Everyone has said he's going to run for president except him. That's a good point. But I do think he will run. If Donald Trump does not run, I would say there's an 80% chance that he'll run. Like it would be hard to tell people no. We're talking about the governor of Florida. Yeah, but Trump is going to run again. I don't know, man. Okay, so let's dissect that one. Donald Trump keeps saying things that make it seem like that he's going to run again. He said things at rallies and when people talking about it, basically trying to hint that he's going to run. Here's the problem with that. I think that even if Donald Trump had zero intention of running, that he would still say that. Because he knows that it's all about the publicity, and what's going to get more publicity than saying that he's going to run for president? Like really? So he would say that anyways. So the news reports that he's thinking about running, and the hints that he's dropping that he's thinking about running does not convince me. And furthermore, I think that were he to run, that's a big minefield. I mean, if things continue to go as badly for Democrats as they have been, then yeah, he could totally win. The tendency, though, is for the pendulum to swing back the other way. You know, for instance, there being a crisis in red states, but not in blue states for coronavirus Delta variant, probably going to help Democrats, right? And then it would be very hard for Trump to win. And you know, it would maybe even be hard for him to win the primary. I think there are a lot of people that, even though they would say that they support Donald Trump, would realize that pushing another candidate, the candidate with such high negatives, is not the best thing for their movement as a whole, right? It would be better for the ideas that Donald Trump, brought to the forefront. It would be better for those ideas that he not run and somebody else pick up the torch. It really would. Because if Donald Trump runs again and is defeated, then that would be used by the establishment as the quintessential example of Trumpism failing. And that would be the end of it. Crisis as a matter of volume of reporting? I don't think I can take it that way. Like, okay, yeah, there are situations where something can happen and you can report it a certain way and increase or decrease the public reaction to that particular thing. But there are other things that are just going to become a big deal, even if you try and suppress it. Okay, if the coronavirus we had never had lockdowns and we were reaching capacity and, you know, thousands of people were dying because of it, it would have been a big deal. And if we see the death rate rise here again, of course, the media is going to report on it. One way or another, it is a crisis. It's just like the administration wants to deny that there's a crisis on the southern border, but there is a crisis. Like, you can change the reporting and you can argue about the definition of the word as much as you want, but the reality is that there is a border crisis right now on the southern border. That tens of thousands of people are coming in every day. None of them tested or vaccinated, by the way. Like, so I don't. Mm, unless you have evidence that Republican voters, broadly speaking, have another candidate in mind. Well, I really don't think that is going to be Trump. I really don't. It's DeSantis. I think that like the issue is that there's this loyalty test sort of a thing going on in some sections of the Republican Party. I'm not going to say it's everywhere, but there are definitely portions of the Republican Party that are like, whether or not you wear a mask is a loyalty test. You know, like, if I were to run for an office in 2022, there would be a Republican that would come up and say, well, Seth's wife sold masks and was part of the whole masks scam. That would happen. You know, it would be silly, but that would happen, right? Yeah. So when you're talking about like who would actually win, I don't think that those metrics are as indicative of what would happen as you might think. You know, if Trump ran, probably he would run, but I don't think that his support in a primary would be as high as people think. Because there's a lot of people that are just kind of saying things right now because they don't want to be attacked by Donald Trump's supporters. Because it's like, if you just say one thing that they don't like, it's like the end for you. Right? But you got to realize that even amongst Republicans, that the Donald Trump base is really more like 35% of the Republican Party, and the rest of the party is just going along with it because they're afraid. Because he won and they're not going to fight him and they don't have any problem with them, so whatever, just go along with it, right? But if there was another primary, that would become an issue. And when you're having like a hard fought primary, the question is who would hard fight against him, right? Like, that's the thing, is Donald Trump runs and there's not a major contender, then of course he runs away with it. But what if we got a situation like, what's a realistic scenario? Okay, well, what if the primaries came down between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, for instance, right? I think the situation would be a little bit different, because Nikki Haley and her proponents could say, you know, Trump is a bad pick for the party, etc., etc. And I think that it could be competitive. Like, he could potentially lose in that situation, especially if he made a mistake, or, you know, there could be like an upset. It's possible. What if he's under indictment? So you notice that there was like that initial story about his business. Like remember that the claim is that they were basically giving things to the guy that was running the books, so that he could get them tax free because he was getting them through the company, right? That's a pretty small thing. I mean, that's one of those things that normally it would be like you would cut a deal and pay a fine, you know. I don't think that that's enough to stop any potential presidential ambitions. I mean, I think proceedings are underway, but like the thing is that like they announced a couple of stuff and then you haven't heard anything. That's because the reality is that like what we've heard is the worst of it, right? Like, these sorts of things tend to get people excited because it's like, oh, the next shoe is going to drop, etc., etc. This is more like the alien UFO thing. Like the juiciest bits have already been given to us, you know. And maybe the juiciest bits are juicy. I think that in the case of the UFOs, the information that was given to us is quite interesting, right? With this Trump one, I think it's a little underwhelming. I don't think that it would affect him politically. Andrew Cuomo at this rate might be under indictment before Trump. That one is a little weird. Like, why is Cuomo not on television right now resigning? I can't, especially after like literally everybody in his party yesterday told him to step down, and he's gonna continue to try and stay on. I'm just like, what is going through his head? Like, the dogpiling on Kumo was suspicious? I don't think it is, RJ. To be honest, I don't think it is. Because here's the thing. People made claims against him concerning sexual harassment before, and a large portion of the party said, this is not okay. You need to leave. It's on an issue that Democrats are all triggered about these days anyways, right? And he made a lot of bad decisions in New York too. So who was a poor governor? They want rid of him. Okay. He doesn't quit. Then the attorney general goes through and does their investigation. And it's basically like, yeah, it is a problem. Yeah. What are you going to do? As a party, you want to disown him now because you do not want that guy as governor. 100%. So I don't think the dogpiling on him is suspicious. What I think is suspicious is that he hasn't resigned yet. Is he like that tone deaf? Like, you think that you can really govern effectively under that kind of a situation? Like, no way. So he's going to force the legislature to impeach and remove him? Okay, I guess. Like, the only logical explanation I can come up with for that one is that he's just got an ego, you know? Now, probably what's going to happen with that Trump indictment case is that the guy that's under investigation will cut a deal and pay a fine. You think something is about to blow in the open? No. Perhaps the wrong word. I mean, where were these people 3 years ago? Well, I do have to say I am getting quite tired of the politician has been in office for a while and now somebody wants to make an accusation against him. Is really frustrating. I don't know though. You know, when these situations come up, there was this girl that I dated. Sometimes I think back on the story she told me, and I think, well, maybe part of it was just she telling stories because it was entertaining. I don't know, but she had well, she was in a coma, basically. I mean, it was only for a few days, but she was in a coma due to head trauma. And it really affected her health. Like, it was affecting her pineal gland or whatever. And so she was like having like excessive weight gain and things like that, like all sorts of problems from it. And she told me what happened was that she had a boyfriend from before that turned out to be a psychopath. And when she realized that he was a psychopath, like he left her, and there was like a company investigation against him, and he like turned on because they were like stealing money. And then he was the guy that kind of like tattled on the other people and got the deal to get out, right? And then she believes that he attacked her in retribution, but she doesn't remember because she just was found passed out in the garage, right? And this guy was running for political office. So I like took note of the name and everything, thinking, well, okay, if this ever comes up, like, I'm a witness. She did tell me. I'm sure that I'm not the only person that she told, but she did tell me about that. So I was like, okay. But I didn't worry about it because I knew that he wasn't going to win. He was running against somebody that he didn't stand a chance against. But he was running to be a senator in the state legislature. So I was kind of saw how I was like, oh, okay, I can see how in certain situations you just don't say anything because you don't think anybody will believe you and it's not worth the drama and everything. But now that they're in office and it matters, now you say something. Fair enough. Doesn't make it less frustrating though. Especially since, in particular with the case with Donald Trump, there were definitely people making accusations against Donald Trump that were just complete nonsense, right? People that just wanted the publicity. But I digress. That whole thing started about what are the implications of what we know right now with the Delta variant. Does it justify shutdowns? I don't think so. Could it have a negative impact on the economy? I think so. I think so, and I think it could have some some negative political consequences. They aren't like earth-shattering consequences, but they're small negatives for like the governors in Texas and Florida, I think. The N-word tape. I think that one's just a rumor. Something that I have found so incredibly frustrating, and I really mean so incredibly frustrating, is in the Trump era, we're basically told that Republicans are conspiracy theorists and that everything they're saying is not based on fact. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, no, the nature of the internet is conspiracy theory. You go on the internet for information that you can't get anywhere else, okay? What do you get on the news? You get verified facts and information. You don't get theories and, people trying to make inferences. If you're looking for, like if you're trading, for instance, and you're trying to be ahead of the curve, you're trying to be ahead of the curve, you're going to look on the internet and try and find in the sea of noise the one piece of information that may actually be good and tell you about something that's coming, right? And in the Trump era, in the beginning, we actually did get that because there were people saying stuff on 4chan and so forth that ended up being a big deal with those leaks and everything else, right? So that's the nature of the internet. And Democrats want to think that they're like immune to it. So they're like, well, we don't have a problem with that, but the Republicans do. So we need to clamp down on social media and like end all of this stuff. It's like, no. So it's ridiculous. This is the way the internet has always been. And the Democrats are just as bad, if not worse, because nobody fights against it with the Democrats. And the N-word tape is a perfect example of that. It was a rumor going amongst the journalists that had absolutely no backing whatsoever. And yet there was this mass of people out there absolutely convinced that it existed. Just like there's this mass of people that think that Donald Trump is a Russian asset. Ridiculous conspiracy theories that don't get called out. Good morning, Alex. You don't get facts from TV news? Well, you get a lot of facts from TV news. There's certainly a lot of information that doesn't make it public. Oh my gosh. And you just reminded me of something else that for us. So yesterday, I'm looking. I was feeling really tired after my workout because normally I would play Overwatch, but I was like, oh, I don't really feel like doing that. So I tried to find something to watch to make me sleepy, which it didn't work, by the way, because then I got in bed and I wasn't sleepy. But and the first thing I get on Netflix, and there is a new UFO series. So I start watching this UFO series. It was junk. It was all junk. It was complete junk. Don't watch it. It was basically like all of the charlatans in the UFO world got together and got paid to make a documentary. So they mentioned many famous cases that have basically been debunked. In particular, certain claimed UFO abductions that have basically, I think, been pretty conclusively shown to be frauds, right? And it was just so terrible. Like one of the thing that bothered me the most was that they made a big deal about Roswell. They're like, and the government admitted that there was an alien and all of these sorts of things. And no. What happened in Roswell was they were using a weather balloon to detect nuclear tests from the Russians, and the United States did not want the Russians to know that the United States had the ability to detect nuclear tests around the world, that they could use the atmosphere to tell those sorts of things. And that's what happened in Roswell. And it was, in fact, a weather balloon, but it wasn't a weather balloon. It was a balloon for military purposes to detect nuclear tests, right? And they're all acting like this is what really happened. And then after Roswell, they formed a committee called the Majestic 12 and all of these sorts of things. Like, this is complete bullcrap. All of this stuff, these documents are like have been shown to be an elaborate hoax. And I'm sitting here like, I can't believe that they allowed these guys to be on. Like, how much money did they pay these people? It's a complete scam. Complete scam. Yeah, so that frustrated me a little bit. Like, I want to learn more about the Nimitz encounter. Like, that's really interesting to me, but yeah, it's all just nonsense. Everything else is just nonsense, and there's no new information. And if you try keeping tabs on it, you just get a deluge of junk. And the thing is that there's these people, like, I didn't realize, like, this has been a thing since the 50s. So all of these people that are like UFO investigators and stuff, they're like in their 60s now. They've been pushing this stuff all their lives, and they still get away with it because there's like a UFO circuit and all this. It's ridiculous. I thought the day trading world was bad. No, UFOs is definitely the worst. Oh man, Win, you got a ton of links in there. How did you manage that? Oh, you know what? I think it's shortening those links. I don't know if you click on them if they'll actually work. Okay, 30 seconds to the open. By the way, Ace, did you work out a winner off of that one? Well, I remember you were going short a little bit. We might have something here on the open. Let's see. And why did Delta Inverse turn off? Was there a problem with it? Okay, well, here we go. So there was on the open, right on the open, there was a bit of a buy, but then a sweep came in. He says nope. Well, let's be careful because the sweep is out there, and I'm going to bet you that there's some more, and they are going to be sells. So if I do want to take a long, I probably want to wait for the sweep to come in first and try and get a better position, right? That might be one way we could try and play off of it. Treasury back off there again a little bit. Looks like buyers recovering. That was like a 3,000 order sell, by the way. It has got to be some hedge. Like that has got to be somebody buying a ton of options and then coming into the futures and hedging themselves so that they're beta neutral or whatever we call it. There it is again. Those stop sweeps are just killing me, right? It's not the first time that I've seen orders like that come through. I mean, that's always been kind of a thing on and off. But like this sort of like persistently every day right off the open and it doesn't end up being indicative of which way the market is going to move at all is highly unusual. Like the one time I can really remember seeing sweeps like that was like when we were having the late December drop in 2018 it was, I think, that and end in August. Like those were some really aggressive selling, and you would see those sweeps come in, and they would just be devastating. Yeah, once in a while it was okay. 4 times in 2 days. Yeah, it was more than 4 times. I mean, it's been twice today already. Yesterday, I think they did it like 6 times. Okay, well, that worked out pretty good. I have to see if we do get a strong up move above 10 would be like stopping out a lot of overnight positions and stuff. Look at that. That was a breach of, breach to the overnight high. Now we're gonna have to go like the yesterday's levels around the 15 area. American women can't drive in the military? That's interesting. You're long at 06? That's not too bad. Oh, it's stationed in Saudi Arabia, couldn't drive. I see. Yeah. Okay. I'm wondering about, so like they've eaten into this 20 in the 10-year a number of times. It's still kind of that 19 half and so far that is a question, because we could get a significant level break and then maybe you start seeing stops beyond that, right? For now, though, the E-mini is taking a little bit of a breather, I would say. Oh my, did I say something wrong? The channel numbers all of a sudden? They were all talking about the coronavirus and they were all interested, and then when we moved on from that, it wasn't interesting anymore. Maybe try adding a COVID title for today. No, I don't want to trigger YouTube. I don't. They come for me. No, it's just they're lost because of course I haven't closed either of these positions, but so far today I'm doing pretty good, huh? A little upset about that one ticker that I took earlier on that didn't work out, because I think that I had the overall direction right. Though I got caught in a pullback. They were screwing with me, so that just means that I didn't really have the volume or activity to really take that trade. So I'd have to call that one a mistake. Okay. Maybe taking a look at 19 half here. Yeah, okay. Ooh, and strong stack on it. Oh boy. Okay. Also, lots of likes today. Thank you guys so much. I didn't even ask anybody. 11 likes. You guys are just so great. Okay. A good number of orders sitting there at 18.5 now. But we are below yesterday's lows now in the 10-year. So next, like, long-term daily level I can see is like 14.5. But I mean, it could go so much further. Like when you look at like the daily moving averages and things like that, like the levels that are more significant for, you know, the big fund manager kind of people, that they might, if they look at technicals at all, are like way down there. So now the E-mini was doing pretty good. I would say that the movement is still positive, but it looks like that breach in the 10-year caused a little bit of a drop in the E-mini. So what? AOC masks up for photo op with crowd of leftists and then removes it again immediately. What? That actually happened. AMC pops after fund manager Crispin O'Day reported to be short. We've been seeing a lot of that going on lately. Did you guys see the thing in Robinhood? They were, you know, like their debut was really bad. I don't think I've seen a worse IPO than the Robinhood IPO. And then after that, there was one of these kind of a gamma squeeze runs, right? And so what happened? The Robinhood insiders decided to offer more shares this morning. So the liquidity is getting a little light in this area, in the 10-year. So I wonder if this is going to be like yesterday, where I'm going to take one, it's going to come back up, and then they're going to go and push a new low by like a few ticks, and then that's the end of it. One of your children should learn Mandarin. Mandarin is a hard language to learn. I wish that we didn't have this pandemic thing going on, because I would go and try and find a new hobby talking to Chinese people, man. I tell you what, of course I have a lot of problems with the Chinese Communist Party, the government over there and everything, but Chinese culture is really interesting. I'm not going to say cool. I'm going to say interesting. And I'm going to call them refugees. Chinese refugees here in the United States are really cool, actually. So I wish that there was like a thing where I could go and, once a week and take a Mandarin class or something, like as sort of it, meet people, talk to people. But no, we have to be in a pandemic. Oh, you speak. Oh, that's right. You're from Taiwan. Man, every time I read this stuff about Taiwan, like, let's see here. What were the news stories about Taiwan today? They showed the Taiwanese flag at the Olympics, and that was the first time the Chinese athletes had seen it. And they authorized the arms sale to Taiwan, and China was upset. But I don't know. I'm starting to wonder, like, how serious is China actually about taking over Taiwan? Because it really seems to me like they're just trying to play it up for their domestic audience, And then there's this whole thing that, like, if the Chinese did attack Taiwan, would the world come to help? They're supposed to. The U.S. sells weapons just to piss China off. So you don't think that the U.S. really believes that they would do it, right? It's a historical debate. I mean, I don't view it that way, to be honest with you. The way that I view it is that that Taiwan has had its own government and has been self-governing itself for decades now, that people of Taiwan have no interest in being a part of China and being a part of the Chinese Communist Party. So the idea that you're going to come and take it back is absolutely ridiculous. Is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's one thing when you talk about things like in the Middle East, for instance. There's also, like, especially, what was it, Iraq and Kuwait, for instance. There was, like, other political issues related to that we don't necessarily, the larger public doesn't really understand very well, so we never talk about it. But, like, Saddam was attacking Kuwait because they were, like, trying to recoup reparations from the war that they had with Iran. Like they thought, at least, that they had a legitimate claim, but it really wasn't so much that as it was that when you're a dictator and you're having problems, you try and point everybody's ire outwards, and that's a really great way to maintain power. And that's one of the things that Saddam did, was that he just started a war with Iran, and, like, it didn't go very well. So then he turned around and turned on Kuwait, right? But that's why that sort of thing happened. In Taiwan, you really don't have any sort of geopolitical strategic sort of thing like that. It's just like, but it is, I guess, similar in that it's like, how does, because there's not, well, I guess you could call Xi a dictator, but really I just call the Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party, a dictatorship. So it's an oligarchy dictatorship, but I digress. They are directing their ire towards Taiwan to get their domestic audience ginned up and everything. But it's just so much a very different situation. It's just like, I really can't think of a situation in recent history where, there was a forcible reunification between two countries and the two countries didn't want to be together, There was attempts. Well, I take that back. I mean, I guess they took over South Vietnam. I guess South Vietnam maybe counts, yeah? Yeah, add to that Kuwait's unreasonable loan demands after the Iran-Iraq war. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Iraq felt like they had, so in the United States, when it's taught in school, it's implied that Saddam just one day decided to attack Kuwait because they had oil and they were small, and then they didn't think that anybody would do anything about it, and then the world came to their aid. That's like what American citizens are taught. But like as you pointed out, and I'm not saying that these claims are legitimate, because again, it was very much a political thing for Saddam to maintain his complete control over the country, but they had some claims that in their minds were legitimate. Okay, well, Alex, if Taiwan declares independence, well, it has basically declared independence, hasn't it? I don't know. I guess that's not true, right? They claim to be the what is the word? They claim to be the legitimate government of China, is what Taiwan says, right? And it's not so much independence, but in my mind, they've basically been independence, right? If Taiwan declares independence, then it's too much of a threat to China. China also loses water, which also hurt them, so I think they might actually take Taiwan by force. About half of the people in Taiwan think the U.S. will come to the rescue, but the other doesn't. Treasuries asks, I think we would come to the aid of Taiwan if China attacks, right? Treating it all, but plus it's the right thing to do. Well, that's kind of the issue, though, Ace, is that based on what they're saying, both of the United States and Japan have said that they would defend Taiwan in an instance like that. The issue is, well, the issue for China is that they couldn't pull it off today. So, but they are building their military up very quickly. And I've seen some estimates that as soon as 2025, that China might have the resources and ability to try and pull it off. So the issue on the other side of it is that if China decides to make a play for Taiwan, it's not going to be like, okay, they slowly move their pieces into position and then the United States slowly. No, it would be like blitzkrieg. Overnight, they take over the whole country. And then is the United States at that point going to turn around and say, no, we're going to kick you back out and have a full-on land war in Taiwan? That's kind of the issue. Is many people are concerned, myself included, that if China made a strong play for Taiwan and that caught the United States flat-footed, and you had somebody like Joe Biden was president, that they would just say, "Oh well, it's too late for us to do anything," and just let it happen. Sell-off mode on. By the way, where did I took 18.5, right? Yes. Took 18.5. So maybe there was 18, but I'm seeing a lack of latent liquidity in this location for whatever reason. So it might pause. It may require a little bit more volume, maybe another breach over here in the E-mini before the Treasuries can continue moving down, because I don't think that those buy orders are going to pull. I think that they're a little bit more legit. Maybe a strongly worded tweet will fix it all. Yeah. It's like a real problem. It really is. Like, because Taiwan is a small place. Well, it's not a small place, but it's not huge, you know? Like, it's an area of land that a country could take over in a day, you know? And then what are you going to do about it? Yeah. You're totally right, Alex. Of all the land disputes, China's approach is just to put the dispute on hold. I am getting stronger day by day. Yeah, it really is. I like. This is what irks me about China is that when and you look at the things that they are doing, it's like they always do just enough to um, take advantage of the situation, but not enough that the United States government or anybody else will do anything about it, right? And here you have these people in the United States saying, like, you guys, you realize what China is going to do, and by the time that it's actually a problem, you won't be able to do anything about it because they'll be too strong. And people in the United States just continue to yawn about it, I feel. Like there's certainly plenty of people talking about it. There's definitely concern about it when Donald Trump was president. But is there actually policymakers doing anything about it? No. I guess though, like, what could they do about it is kind of another problem. It's like the Chinese economy is probably going to continue to grow and you can't stop that. And are you going to just stop all trade with China all of a sudden one day? Well, that would lead to like the most awful global trade economic crisis the world has ever seen. Oh, look, there's the new low. Cool. So they did trade. I was saying I don't think these orders are just going to pull. Well, that was true of 17.5. And they did trade 3,000 at 17 as well. So I don't know if that means they have the fuel to continue down or not. It's a tough call because the whole situation is, I think that we should continue to see trending down behavior, but it's a really difficult call day by day to say how far is it going to go. Yeah, see, like Caleb is saying, I don't really have a problem with China capturing Taiwan. Why should Americans be concerned? Because Alex will be killed. That's why you should be concerned, Caleb. Because Alex is a good guy. He lives in Taiwan. He experiences the freedom and economic prosperity that comes from living in Taiwan. And I don't want him to be taken to the gulag by the Chinese Communist Party. And that is why we need to make sure that they don't take over Taiwan, all right? He's from Taiwan. No, wait, is he? Are you in the U.S. right now and from Taiwan, or are you in Taiwan right now? I guess this time of day, probably you are in the United States, huh? I don't think China wants to capture Taiwan to kill everybody there. Well, they're going to kill anybody that opposes them. They're going to kill anybody that believes in freedom. Oh, okay, you live in the U.S. Okay. I misunderstood, I guess. I think that dropping a nuke would be that thing that makes the entire war go, okay, wait a minute, what are we doing? Well, but did you remember this whole thing about there were local governments in China pushing these videos basically saying that if the United States is going to try and defend Taiwan, that China is justified in using preemptive nuclear weapons against the United States? Holy crap. Let me go about it this way instead, Caleb. We have been involved in wars, the United States have, that have been like long, hard fought wars, okay? And really it goes North Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, right? And the experience in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq has kind of been these extended conflicts aren't really good for the United States and they aren't very effective. Like the nation building is an issue and we're not exactly sure how to deal with it, right? Okay. So there is a tendency for some people in the United States to say, well, if something like that happens in a part of the world, that the United States should not get involved. But there's a really key difference between what would happen with Taiwan as compared to Iraq or Vietnam. And it's also the difference with Korea. And that is that the partners that we have there are good and reliable partners, right? So the reason that things worked out in South Korea is because South Korea is a good and reliable partner, right? If South Korea was corrupt, there was tons of corruption, and the government was incompetent, or the government was practically a dictator, kind of like what they had in South Vietnam, frankly, right? Then the whole calculus changes, right? But the government of Taiwan has been very good. They have like a very healthy democracy there and everything. And so to have China attack a developed democracy in that way would be unprecedented in modern times. And it's really quite insane to think about. And I would hope that the people of the world would say that it's unacceptable and stop it. But I totally understand it's not that simple because, probably either way there's going to be an awful cost, if China actually goes to do that. Okay, so another tick. I should have held that. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I don't think America's. It really is though. Like you understand that. So like Iraq is Afghanistan is a really, really good example. So the United States government put a lot of effort into trying to create a stable government there and everything. But then what happened? The guy that got elected, Mubarak, ended up being a shithead. If they had hired somebody better, that didn't cause all of these problems, then maybe the United States could still be in Afghanistan helping, and the situation there would be a lot better, and we would be on track to be like, this was a successful thing. Like, you got to understand that the major obstacle to nation building is creating a government there that can be a reliable partner. And in Vietnam, Afghanistan, we failed to do that. And in Iraq, I would say it's not as bad, but I wouldn't say that it was like a resounding success. Okay. But in South Korea, we were successful with that. And that's why South Korea turned out differently from the other ones. Right. And to the point, Taiwan is a very reliable partner, and so that's why Taiwan would turn out differently as well. Like if China decided to attack Taiwan and the US government and the people of the world decided to stand up to it, they would win. It might be ugly, but they would win, and it would be a success story in the long run. Okay, well, I even though I think that I should have held on to that trade a little bit longer, the things that I was seeing there were not illusions. And you can see here, particularly at 16.5, that as they've pushed lower, that the liquidity problem has just come a little worse. So yesterday, we're just getting kind of the same signals, and that was when they backed off. But, it's kind of tends to be like, then they still make another push. So let's kind of file that one away. Where would we get our cheap Christmas decorations from if they took over Taiwan? No, there was, so somebody was just saying something in the chat here, and I need to come and look. We do have a Fed speaker today, right? We get the New York Fed Treasury purchases 22 to 30 years at 8:30. That's also important. That's also very important. But I need to go to, I think Forex Factory was listing it here, right? Waller at 10. Oh, that's way after we're gone, so I guess I don't have to worry about that. Oh, but I guess his remarks are being, or is my chart here messed up? Oh, yeah, it is messed up because it's saying 10 and it's not mountain time. Okay, yes. So it was at the top of the hour. Fed's Waller, stablecoins might put pressure on bank markups for payments. And he remarks on a crypto, I forget what it stands for, a CBDC. The China-Taiwan relationship might be too hot for YouTube. Maybe, I don't know. Well, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to stall for the E-mini here, but like, they still got good uptrends. I must say, they still got pretty good uptrend. The R squared is still like up there and everything. So, I think I can justify trying to hold it. 15 would be a logical next step. But I'm also kind of looking over here at the Treasuries, and I can just see like there seems to be a little bit of a hole here. So I'm wondering, is that hole enough to stop them, or are they gonna make another push? I think one thing that we should know is that maybe the bids aren't as strong as they appear, because that was the mistake that we made in taking that like 6 ticks too early. I've never in my life bought a shirt for $3. You can do it, actually. You buy them in bulk. Where do you think these people get all these t-shirts that they make for you with their logos on it and stuff? I know this because I did that one time with shirts, and I think that I paid $3 to $5 each shirt, and then you had to print on them, and then it was more, but the shirt itself was cheap. So I wonder, when we saw that push down, did the Fed speaker say something and I just didn't hear anything from Financial Juice? Or is my Financial Juice not working correctly? So you can kind of see how they're getting into this mode where like a lot ends up trading there, even though there's not much on the bid or the offer. My hand, I got bit by a mosquito, and do you see it? Oh yeah, you can definitely see it on the camera. Like the red shows up like crazy. It's just so bad. Oh, a bad bite. That's a bad bug bite. Wait, what? Biden said Hong Kong residents can stay in the country, in the U.S., can remain in the country for as long as 18 months, citing Beijing's crackdown on political freedoms. They should be allowed to remain in the country. Like anybody that wants a green card should have it expedited. I don't, that if they're here, anybody from Hong Kong that's here should be allowed to just stay. Did they get a sweep again? Yep, I see that. Yeah. Wow, how much was it? 3 to 5, so another 2,000. It's a little curious because the E-mini has really slowed down. So we are coming into the reversal time period. Macron's vaccine passport backed by constitutional court. Oh, Fed's Waller says highly skeptical there's a compelling need for a CB digital currency. I'm surprised you say that. Okay, hold up. Interesting. Okay, so I'm taking it off because we just saw a really strong flood of buy orders come into the 10-year. Well, I would really say it came into the 5-year here. I don't know if it was because of a remark that Waller made, but the E-mini kind of struggling here a little bit. Maybe they move up, but they were certainly at a key point, and we are coming into it, time period. Like I've been in it long enough that I think I have to call it and take the profits on it. Let's see here. News Squawk says, do we get a taper signal at Jackson Hole? And they did a poll, and after 335 votes, 49% say yes, and 51% say no. Yes, the Financial Juice affiliate link. If you don't have News Squawk, I would very highly recommend it. And Financial Juice is a cheap option, and they do a fine job. I wouldn't say that they're as good as News Squawk, but they're pretty good. Okay, well, I took my profits. Now watch the E-mini go for a new high. Then go up to that 15. I'd rather see them do a sequel to The Rock with The Rock I'm seeing on Twitter. I agree. Romney talking about infrastructure deal and being, oh, by the way, we're supposed to get, I don't think that we get that until later. Let me see. Let me double check here. No, so today we're supposed to get the Congressional Budget Office estimate on the cost for the infrastructure bill, which is a big deal, potentially a big deal. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find if there's a time for that. Well, I'm not seeing a time in the news article that I'm seeing here, but just know that is a political event that could affect financial markets that is on deck today, but the time is unknown. A friend of mine now posts polls during the live. No, it's a thing. I could make a poll. Do we want to have a poll about something? Let's have a poll. Let's say, will China attack Taiwan in the next 10 years? Ask your community, and you guys can vote if you think yes or no. Ask people if they think the taper will or will not happen. I don't think that's a fair question to ask you guys. Because I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I'm really, like it is not a fair question to ask ahead of tomorrow. Well, none of you are voting on that one. Come on. Vote now. Vote now. There you go. Three yes and 3 no. Huh. We could have a poll about the jobs numbers tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, I tell you what. I'll give you 10 seconds to vote on the Taiwan issue. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Missing No, that's an awesome name. How did you get that one? Ethereum had this update go through today that burns Ethereum as part of its gas fee. Are they getting to where they are going to move to proof of stake? Yeah. So the thing that I didn't quite realize until recently about that whole thing is that it kind of makes it like a more of a deflationary currency. Right now, like the amount of Ethereum that gets produced, there's lots and lots and lots. And when they move to proof of stake, it'll basically diminish over time. They're trying, but it's slow. Yeah, like they. I totally understand, because I think there are a lot of people that don't want it. Okay. Will non-farms be above expected? What is the expectation on that one? Will it be above the expected 870K jobs? I'll ask it that way, right? So yes means that it will be above expectation. No means it will be below expectations. That's the poll, and we'll leave that one up for a long time. Or do you trade crypto? So I really don't recommend trying to day trade cryptocurrencies, to be honest. So I was most of my transactions, well, I was using Coinbase Pro as my exit, but a lot of it was going through Bittrex. I still have the garlic coin. We haven't looked at that in a while. You want to look at that? I don't like talking about it anymore, because I don't want to ever be giving the impression that I am advocating a certain investment or trade, right? So garlic coin. Oh, they're at 60 again. It's not too bad. You have a video? Nah, don't worry about it. Let's look at the last 3 months. Oh, we need to go back further than that now. We have to go back a year, probably. Yeah, there's a spike. So there was a few weeks ago, they got up to 80 cents, but they've since kind of evened back out. I do think that at some point in the future, garlic coin will have another spike. Let's see here. My understanding is that there's a halvening soon. I don't know when. 27 days ago. That was 8 days ago. So in 20 days, I think, sometime within the month, the garlic coin is going to have again. And the thing is like, considering this rise that we had, and then if the halvening triggered another rise, maybe it won't do that, but you can just kind of look at it. I think that this could become an awesome trade if it goes, but we'll see. But I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm advocating a trade. I'm just, that's one that I'm in. Still own it. But for day trading cryptocurrencies, you gotta understand, like, there's a lot of real issues with that. So, there are inefficiencies in the market. Yeah. A lot of the inefficiencies that I am aware of that you could take advantage of, and you should be able to take advantage of in the cryptocurrency market. You really need good execution, and the robots there are already, strong enough. They beat you. So, the inefficiencies that I tend to take advantage of over here in futures have a lot to do with news and stuff. And, well, there's some real issues with that kind of a trade in the crypto world, right? Because they don't actually You know, the way that they react to news is very inconsistent, let's say. So, but then beyond that, one large player buying up a large block of Bitcoin can move the instrument way more than any kind of news or any of that other stuff would be. So, like that's a really huge risk. And so I think that unless you're already into it and you've made a ton of money from your robot, that and I certainly from a discretionary point of view, I wouldn't, can't recommend day trading cryptocurrencies. And to the larger point, when we're talking about day trading, because I should always be careful about that, because I don't want to lead anybody to the impression that I'm trying to say with this stream that day trading is this great thing and that everybody should do it and you should learn how to do it and you'll make money. That's not the case at all. Vast majority of people will lose money futures trading. It is not suitable for all investors. And if you do trade futures, I would recommend limiting the amount that you put at risk. So these micro treasury futures that are coming out, they're going to be really, really great because you can risk, only like $10, $20 at a time. And that'll be really good to build out, trading experience and things like that, right? Prashant, I follow you on a different time zone. Oh, thank you very much. Do you mind sharing the platforms and tools you use or recommend as of now, mainly from options? You're using options. Okay, so that's interesting. Well, so I'm trading futures and I use the Jigsaw Day Trader application for my depth of market, and my charts are coming from NinjaTrader 8. Okay. And I use the bridge, so the data comes into NinjaTrader 8, and then the bridge will forwards it onto Jigsaw. Okay. Now I have a video about this on the channel that is called "What is the best day trading software or futures trading software platform?" If you're doing options, then it's a different kind of game. Like it really depends on your broker. So it's not clear that the central bank could issue a central bank digital currency without costs. Huh. He's kind of arguing, I don't know if we benefit from it enough to justify the cost that we would have to put into maintaining it and hiring people to do all that stuff and things, I guess is what he's saying. So I see Biden making a tweet about the infrastructure deal. He says the infrastructure deal makes the largest federal investment in public transit ever, the largest federal investment in passenger rail since the creation of Amtrak, the single largest dedicated bridge investment since the interstate highway system was built. It's historic. That is not the only cheerleading for the infrastructure deal that I have seen today, and I find it a little curious that there's kind of this PR push before the Congressional Budget Office puts their scoring on it. There you go. Yeah, Win linked you the video there. Okay, well, man, where did we take off our trade? 44. How it doesn't tell me anymore. But it was at 32. So, no, wait, is that? No, that was when it was opened. Closed 8:14. Okay. So at 8:14, yeah, we were definitely a little bit higher. Okay, so here we're going to get the big Okay. We're getting the natural gas stocks, but what about the New York Fed Treasury purchases? I see the item listed here in my little news thing that I have from Jigsaw, but it's not giving me a number yet. New York Fed Treasury purchases. I just feel in a wave of like I'm kind of tired coming over me again. I don't know what my deal is. Let's see here. What is Zero Hedge saying about S&P 500? Earlier today, we discussed the incredible anchor that has emerged around the 4,400 level. In SPOOs, and as more traders inquire about what is behind this strange anchor, Nomura's Charlie Miguelia has followed up on this writing that the 4,400 strike continues to choke markets and dealers on long gamma at the money with $7.1 billion accumulated there. Although in a sign that the market will likely keep grinding higher, 4,450 has been built up, and another 4.6 billion at 4,500 and growing. Oh, by the way, Goldman Sachs changed their year-end target to 4,700. And their calls have been pretty darn good through this whole pandemic. So, Miguel notes volatility, supply-demand dynamics are completely out of whack, which is on account of a number of inputs. Dealers' regulatory risk management realities, where stress slides show ever-increasing clusters of rolling VAR events over almost any look-back period. So you need to somehow be cash positive in a negative 3 to 5% move. But to do your job and facilitate client order flow, the only options you can really run meaningfully short is in a near dated expirations without having to pay through the nose away at horribly uneconomical levels with another dealer and market maker. In turn, this causes further daisy chain of crash demand and drives the outrageous skew and put extremes discussed previously to even more extreme levels, all of which creates a vortex of short gamma accelerant flow potential lower on whatever macro shock catalyst which will next drive spot down. And with all sorts of downplay catalysts on the wall of worry out there in the coming months between the Delta variant closure potentials, Fed tapering, inflation overshoot versus slowing growth, etc., which then drives client downside demand. Currently, see gamma flip level for dealers down through 42.87 as of this morning, meaning the lower we go from here, the shorter the dealer gamma position. The supply of volatility from structural and oftentimes systematic sellers, especially forward vol out beyond a few weeks, too, has been greatly reduced versus the past, with some of the largest players, books, and strategies having been famously wiped from the buy side in recent years. AUM greatly reduced at the very least, alongside a number of large market maker blowups due to the same events and the aforementioned dealer inability to be short tails of meaningful size or term. So basically what it's saying is that the S&P 500 is likely to continue bubbling up, but that if something bad were to happen, say for instance the jobs number came significantly under expectations tomorrow, that the S&P 500 could drop very, very quickly. A lot of long gamma doesn't look to be dropping off tomorrow at the expiry, so that helps from an insulation perspective. Okay. Also means that we don't necessarily expect a huge decline after the expiration like we did last expiration. That seems like just yesterday. So let's check our poll that we've got here. Will the non-farms be above the expected 870K jobs? And it looks like all 12 of you have voted, and the result has been that you do not believe that it will be above expectations. So you guys think that we will be below expectations. Very interesting. Oh man, the thing is that the kind of predictive indicators that we've gotten this time are giving such a mixed picture. It's very difficult to sort out, and I really do not have a clue which way it's going to go. Oh, one more person voted no, so it actually ended up being 61% in the end. So does that mean we should go short the E-mini tomorrow? I'll tell you what, we'll do the poll again tomorrow morning before the event and see if you guys change your mind. And then if we do, we'll take a sim order short ahead of the news. Well, man, today has been a slow day, hasn't it? E-mini makes my tummy hurt. Sorry, Ace. This is, yeah. I'm trying to monitor how it's been going, both in the E-mini and for you closely, because again, it's like when that volatility VIX level gets really low, it starts to become very, very frustrating for us. And we kind of have to change tactics. You're going to sail the world? I saw this video the other day, this girl on TikTok, and she was in a bathing suit sailboating, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. Go sailing with hot chicks and stuff. And but then I was like, I could buy a sailboat, but then I was like, yeah, but then I'd have to sail on the Great Salt Lake, and that wouldn't be so great. You taking it short? Well, oh man, is this? There could be something wrong. Oh, object reference not set to an instance of an object. Oh, and then it dies. Hey, we might have something to debug here. Let's try and see what's going on. Please change the date, yes. I'm going to say another strong trend down in Treasuries, with the date being the 5th of August. Save. Now I can just touch to process. Guess I don't need to open the file up and find the breakpoint. Okay. Enable. Enable. How do the French say that? Enabled in French. Active. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Null. Let's see here. Bars in progress, 0. Current bar, 0. Oh, yes, because if current bar is less than period, return. Compile. We had a bow. We never used the darn expensive thing. The bow was too big to put puts in the tank. Ate about $600 a tree. Now I have a Mariana, much easier. Now I have a Maria. You know, a lot of people in Utah have boats. It's actually surprising, especially where I live. Like, it seems like all of the neighbors have boats. But I have no interest in owning a boat like that. I want to know, why did that... Okay, so that fixed that. The exception was thrown at this call stack. Let's see here. Add watch. Throws an error. Add watch. That one is fine. So why is it my correlation giving me so my delta? Okay, let's see here. My delta of 0. Okay. Does indeed give me a value. Let's see here. What's the instrument? Maybe the instrument is getting it wrong. Oh. Is it now? Okay, so hold on. Let's make another change here. String foo equals this dot instrument dot full name. Okay. Seth, have you ever done volume indicators with tick replay? Yes, the robot that I'm working on right now uses tick replay. One that I'm having problems with. A lot of folks in Utah have boats. You can use them for like you can use it more than 5 weeks in the summer. I don't know. They seem to go boating like every weekend, but I'm still not so sure that it justifies the cost of it. But I think that a lot of these people, you get to a certain point with your house payment low enough that they just don't know what to do with the money, which is kind of funny. Like, I've never quite been in that situation, but like, so for instance, my wife wants a tummy tuck. It doesn't bother me, but she does have a fairly bad pooch from the last pregnancy. And so she's been looking into it. It is not cheap. That stuff is not cheap. But so many people in Utah have done it. Like so many. It's ridiculous. It is actually ridiculous. So apparently, unbeknownst to me, there are actually people in Utah that have money they don't know how to use efficiently, I guess. Okay. Foo. That's correct. My delta, period, 10, foo. Yes, 0921. So then when I create my correlation, doesn't like me. Okay, there we go. Instrument. That's null. So where does it get it from then? Let's go look at NinjaTrader's correlation indicator, shall we? So there it's doing it again. My correlation throwing an error. Okay. Ooh, the air conditioning turned on. It feels so nice. Correlation series. So when I go to correlation series, correct. Okay, so it's not that. So how does this happen? Well, it does a session iterator. That's frustrating because it did not do that yesterday. And why is it that when it gets to that particular bar that it has a problem? Oh, the E-mini's back up there again? Well, when we got out, we did save ourselves a little bit of a pullback, but probably could have held it. Wasn't so bad that I would have freaked me out or anything. Null reference exception. Stack trace. Good time. See, it points out that one on bar update. God, that's so weird. Almost the top of the hour. Any closing thoughts? Nah, I mean, I think I am awfully lucky that we got some good trades because based off of the news and everything else, I wasn't expecting the trade to be good. But we did catch some pretty good trends and we got some good signs on what was going on. I do wish that I had held this treasury trade a little bit longer, but hey, I mean, we made 250 on it. It's fine. All sim, of course, we're still right now, but I'd say that we've been pretty lucky lately, huh? So, but tomorrow is the big move. Tomorrow is the day where like I'm gonna make some huge bet on what the jobs number means, and it's gonna be like dead wrong, and you lose everything. I don't know. We'll see. Don't miss it though. It's big number. Be here bright and early. You too, Ace. You gonna want to be here for that non-farms number. Come in. Maybe wait until after the number if you don't want to take like big risk, and then come in and try and take a trend on it, and you do it with like a micro contract. So we could probably get some good runs. It's at 6:30 our time. He's like, no thanks, I'm sleeping in. You gonna miss all the fun. It's gonna be fun. Okay, but I am gonna get going now. So see you guys then. In the meantime, stay